Welcome, this is your life now, a wasteland where we all take a vow.
Hi there, my name's Mallory. I've had multiple sclerosis for 19 years and I've been in a power wheelchair for 12. I share what our family's experience is like dealing with a chronic illness. And welcome back. Today we are going to talk about disease-modifying therapies, the ones that I've taken anyways. DMTs, yes, good job. So the first medication, well, we kind of talked about this too in our first episode, but our first medication, my first medication was Avonex. And so that one's intramuscular. And it's also, that one's done once a week. And really with that, like, I think the intramuscular was the hardest part of that, like head part, like getting over the fact that it was a huge needle and I was going to self-inject myself with it. And I don't know, I didn't even research to know if they have a self-injector now. That seems really scary with that size of needle, but
like an EpiPen style.
Yeah. I don't know if they do, but I mean, it's been so long ago. It's
I don't know if I'd trust that with such a large needle.
But anyways, so I took that. That's what I started 19 years ago, and I did want to share though. Like, there's not a lot I remember with this drug, like feeling like how I felt on it, or if I felt better, if I felt worse, and I don't know that that's a depiction of the drug because I just really wasn't in tune with my body very much yet. I was 17 years old. But I do remember sitting in the parking lot reading through all the paper and the material at 17 years old, and my mom in the driver's seat. Like, we hadn't left yet. We were just in the parking lot, just left the neurologist's office. And I threw the papers up on the dash and I'm like, welp, if there's anything you need to know about this drug, I'm going to be depressed. Like, it's every page, every other sentence, like every paragraph, like we're just going to deal with it.
That was a symptom of, of the Avonex.
That was the note, like the noted side effects on the documentation and paperwork
Depression.
That they sent us home with. So anyways, it was kind of entertaining, like remembering
Imagine
that.
entertaining at the time. It wasn't then.
Yeah. No, I didn't know what I didn't know, and I was young, very young. So, but I don't know. I say that, but I do remember on Avonex, I did talking to my neurologist and taking an antidepressant at some point during taking that medication. I didn't stay on it for whatever reason, but that was part of my Avonex experience. But otherwise, that's about all I remember of Avonex. It was a big needle, but how I felt, I really don't have a good memory of that because it was so long ago. So I do remember I became very dependent upon steroids on Avonex, which really spun into why we transitioned off this DMT. But I would drive 2 hours, almost 2.5, to where my MS clinic was. My neurologist at the time preferred I do it in their clinic and not do it kind of how we're more comfortable with today, and doing these things at like infusion centers and such. But anyways, I would drive there. I would drive the 2.5 hours. I would do the steroid drip for however long that took. And then I always had like my favorite routine where I would then go get a burrito. I'd get my burrito and I'd go through another drive-through and I'd get a milkshake. And that's what got me home.
Is this the time you ordered like 3 sides of frijoles because you didn't know what they were?
Yeah, in my head, I thought I was ordering taquitos.
Okay.
And then I ended up with 3 bowls of beans. And that's sad. I'm from Texas. I know better. But in my head, I'm like, I got this. Like, I don't know. But that was early MS, so I don't know that we could blame brain fog or anything on that. But yes, that did happen. But the drug was no longer successful for me or helpful to my situation, because I was dependent upon steroids to get me through each month, and my MRIs were also showing it. So collectively, we then changed to Betaseron, which, I mean, same thing. I don't remember a lot of like how I felt, whether I was taking it or not, but Betaseron actually is a much smaller needle, like my pinky nail needle.
Nice.
Like, it's very kind.
Really small gauge and very short. I believe it's 3/8 of an inch.
Yeah.
Smaller than that. So.
And they're also, so there was back then a auto injectable, but this girl don't like those things, so I never ever used it. I just don't like the sounds, the anticipation. I just prefer to like inject myself. And on that one, like, I let everybody inject that one. I didn't care, because I didn't have a lot of sensation or feeling of it, so it was a lot more forgiving. But so that's a subcute needle every other day, and really, like, again, like, I don't have a lot of memories of whether like I felt bad or felt good, but what we had discussed is, that
I think it's
probably,
I mean, you took it every other day,
mm-hmm.
so I think it just stayed in your system longer.
Yeah, it just did a better job of not depleting.
Right.
But it also is a different type of therapy too, and I know, like, and I'm not going to get into the weeds on this because I am not anybody's professional caregiver or licensed to do that, but in the end, like, there's different types of therapy, like T-cell, B-cell, and blah, 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 and all that garbage. But so I realize they're all different types of therapies, but for different and varying reasons in our personal situation, it ultimately our changes became because we were recognizing differences in how I feel, or my MRIs were showing it. But anyway, so I did have a pretty hefty, life-changing, where we are today, exacerbation. And we're not going to go down that rabbit hole today, because that's a whole episode in itself. It's coming. But I will say that is ultimately, at the end of the day, why we left Betaseron behind and moved on to my next DMT.
Almost like a stronger drug, or I guess something that would
Always how I kind of read it back then. Like, so this would have been 2012. So 2012, we transitioned off of Betaseron and over to Tysabri. And at the time when we changed to Tysabri, like, I don't know, like, my mentality was always like, that's the stiffest and hardest.
It was the new latest and greatest.
Yeah, So we changed over to Tysabri, and it's a once a month infusion. Honestly, Tysabri was the first drug that anything resonated with me, like that it was related to a medication, like a side effect, or even the wins, like feeling better or things like that. Like Tysabri, that was really when I came into my body, or it came to me, or I don't know. I think there's a right way to word that, but it came to me, like, what was going on and what was happening with my body. And so Tysabri I have a lot more memories thereafter. And of course you were there too. So right. These changes were all involved you, and so it just helps me to keep better track of
right
the happenings.
Which,
but
I remember the medication worked really well. Day or two after you took it, you could really notice the increase of energy, mm-hmm. and it lasted a good 3 weeks. But that last week, we heard this word from, I guess, another MS patient friend of ours, but the crap gap. Mm-hmm. So, and the crap gap is like the last week of before you take your next dose, I guess, right? So, but you'd get really tired, really weak.
I just remember looking forward to my medication.
The brain fog would come back,
Yeah.
like literally, like you just felt crummy.
But I always knew, I'm like, if I can just make it through this week, like it's gonna be good. But even so, like I was still functional.
I mean, you were still working. So,
Yeah.
I mean, right.
But I'd leave work at 2:00, 1:00, 2:00, and head down the road to the infusion center, do my infusion, and it was a couple of hours. I don't remember the time frame on how long it took, but Tysabri, they did monitor me for an hour following, and my physician, which I loved that he did, my physician also ordered a bag of saline to pretty much flush the line. Don't leave any med behind. Flush the line, but also hydrate me.
So an hour of medication, and then
Yeah.
nurse would come in, swap the
Yeah.
bag, and you'd get
But I
an
had
hour of-
no side effects in the infusion center. Like conversated with every friend that I can make.
That was
That
one
would
of my
allow
favorite.
me to.
That was one of my favorite parts. Like you'd come home saying, "Oh, I met this guy. Like he worked for this place, and he was telling me this." And like you had story after story, like each month. That was like what I look forward to.
People
like,
I met. And
what'd you learn? Who'd you meet?
But it almost like Tysabri though, like I almost immediately felt better. I don't remember like having trouble sleeping the night of. Like I just like I don't know. The only thing with Tysabri was the crap gap.
Crab gap, which we'll get to later, but I mean we deal with that now.
Yeah, and I'm like, we deal with it now, and
I think that's kind of a, I don't know.
so then I think we were dreaming one day. I don't know what happened, but we just were looking for something that didn't require us to be dependent upon a pharmaceutical company delivering us medication, and something that didn't require us to go into a facility. I don't really recall where we were in our life at the point where we decided that we were ready to change from Tysabri, but I don't know. I remember feeling as though we were strapped to either an IV pole or an injectable. And so we started kind of talking about that with my neurologist. And that's when discussions around Lemtrada started. And to be honest, this might be the lengthiest part of this episode because Lemtrada is a lot. And I mean, it was good, a lot. Like, and we were really optimistic about it and excited. Like, you even created like a Facebook group that was like my own personal fan club to get me through this. But
because like the way they explained it to us was like they said that the Lemtrada almost destroys your immune system. This is my words essentially, but destroys your immune system. And once the body starts repairing itself and rebuilding the immune system, there's always that chance that the body would forget that it had MS. Is the way I understood it.
Yeah,
like
so
the flare-ups and the damage and stuff would still be there, but it's not going to heal anything necessarily. But
and I think what's like something to know about us anyways is we research the heck out of anything. I'm saying you do a majority
do a lot
of
of research.
But you do a really good job of knowing the quality of products and things that we're going to use, and you just make really good choices. You research the heck out of things, and we did exactly that on this drug, and there was a lot of promising things. There were a lot of positives, like people like their lesions were actually improving.
I think they told us a story.
Yeah, like we were hearing a lot of really good and promising things. So we knew it was going to be really hard to do, like administer the drug. And it was, but we just were really optimistic that this was going to be a really good thing for us, and we wouldn't have to worry about a medication, or having to chase drugs all the time. It kind of feels like that sometimes.
But it kind of
trying to get.
It kind of made us, like I said, it gave us hope essentially, because like we heard stories about these, a lady that was wheelchair bound like Mallory, and was 3 and 4 months later walking up a flight of stairs.
Yeah.
So it always kind of gave us that hope.
Well, and we're dreamers too. Like we very, I think at the time too, like we were like, what if we want to own like a resort in Mexico somewhere? Like, how could we do this? Right? Like we just wanted flexibility and being strapped to a pole once a month. Like, I don't know. We just didn't want to have to depend on those things, but I'm going to move on. But we opted for Lemtrada. We did go for it. We took the leap, and Lemtrada is typically administered over just one dose, or not one dose, like one sitting. We'll call it that, for 2 years. I have read where others have had round 3, round 4, and yada yada, depending. But anyway, so in our case, my physician prescribed it and ordered it as 5 consecutive days, 1 year, and then I'm done. Like, I didn't have to do anything in between. And then the second year, you do 3 consecutive days, and then you're done. And so we did it in February of 2020.
When COVID started.
So I'm going to let that simmer. February 2020. So we didn't know what was coming. But either way, you'll hear it. We'd leave our house at 7, because you insisted on driving me.
Yeah, no, I was driving you just because of all the medication.
Well, it was about an hour drive during rush hour too.
Yeah, and I didn't want her driving to that city and then
having such a long day,
and then having to stress and worry about coming home.
So pre-meds, we would get to the infusion center. You would plant me in my favorite recliner and pretty much unload all my day. Like, these are long days, so we would unload like all my food for the day. I remember I had my personal laptop, my work laptop, my phone, all these chargers. Like, I took a whole regimen, and then I found I had a daily routine, even when I ate, what I felt was comfortable. But so anyways, we'd get our day started, and that we'd be pretty much pre-med. So I would get Zofran all through IV, by the way. I get Zofran to start my day, followed by Benadryl. And then they'd lay on steroids. So I got steroids this entire time too. So imagine doing steroids and a immune depleting drug all at the same time. It was hardcore. I'm a pretty cool person. I'm a rock star for getting through that. Anyways, it was rough. And I mean, every day was something different, but I know it became really long days. Once you did all the pre-meds, you get all the pre-meds in, and then, so you didn't start the drug that required 8 hours of slow administration. So you do that, and then after that, you get more saline, and you have to be monitored. And so it was at least 12 to 13 hour days. And in between that, it could even be longer, because we would stop the medication in between, because they're checking our heart rate, my blood pressure, all throughout this, my pulse maybe too. I remember having a lot of heart rate issues. In fact, I remember one day, we weren't sure we were going to be able to continue it. But the nurse practitioner that was on site just kind of kept constant communication with my neurologist to make sure.
But you broke out in hives, I believe.
Yeah, we had one. We have a picture somewhere.
Yeah, I think we have a picture.
With me just standing there in my sports bra. I'm standing. I'm like balancing against a wall or something, but I was standing.
Yeah, you
She
were.
had like a full torso picture of me and like
all broke out.
broke out and red, and I'm all swollen and fat and uncomfortable, and like that just it was hard. Post meds, I do remember asking for Zofran to get me home, like the nausea, but also Ambien. I couldn't sleep. That was so many steroids. Like I was so exhausted and so run down, but I couldn't go to sleep at night just because I was so uncomfortable. But
And due to
I'm
the
like,
steroids, like your body was on fire. Like I could feel the heat radiating off you laying in the bed, like laying next to you. I could feel the heat. Like, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it was worth sleeping.
No.
Like it was hard. And then on top of that, I was also part of a research study. I signed up to participate with that. Because they were waving cash in my face probably, but no, not at all. Like I don't know. I like helping people, and that was even just doing that small thing. But so I participated in a research study through my neurologist's office and the healthcare system that they're a part of. But I had a few like separate doctor's appointments just with the research program. But they paid me every time I went to the doctor, every time I had a doctor's appointment, I had like this research partner that would meet me at my appointment. And really, she was kind of like a vampire, because she would follow me around until she got her lab work and had her blood vials. But this is when I started the really bad habit of not eating, like, and then showing up at the hospital like around lunchish with no food in my system. And then they would take 16 balls of blood. And I remember I would always prep them with, I am in a major city that I know has fantastic tacos. If you can keep me pumping and don't let me pass out, that's what I'm holding on tight to, is an empty stomach and some fresh tacos. So that, that got me through. But they take 16 balls, I think was like the minimum of the blood that they would take, and just to simply research. But
every time I saw it, like it was just my eyes would get wide. I'm like, wow, they're gonna drain her.
But I'm like, I'm good, thinking of tacos. But yeah, so that's what started my really bad habit, which I guess not, maybe, because if we back up to Tysabri, or any of those, like I started a bad burrito habit. But anyways, apparently burritos and tacos fixed me in many cases. But anyway, so we did that in February of 2020. That was maybe not but that was right before COVID ramped up in March. And I worked in healthcare. So I went into the hospital every single day with no immune system. I mean, an infant had more going for them than I did by any means. And I masked. I masked up every day, like normal mask. And then my neurologist kind of had a freak out on me, because she knew where I worked, what my career involved, and she knew I was gonna drive in every day and wasn't gonna question it. And honestly, though, like my rule of thumb has always been, if God will protect me, He's put me here for a reason, and I'm gonna serve out my purpose, and etc. And so I always looked at it that way. I did essentially switch over to wearing an N95 mask, so that I wasn't wearing the surgical mask anymore. But which, I mean, that leveled me up to wearing a high bun to work every day, which, I mean, you can't trade that. Like getting to wear my career was like blazers and slacks, and so I had to dress up for work. And so But if you've ever seen like the N95 masks that go like over your head, behind your, like I couldn't, like my hair was all tangled in that garbage all the time. Like I finally gave up and it just became high bun ponytails, and I might have enjoyed it. It was a good trade. But anyways, my point is I never got COVID with no immune system. And I mean, I just, for whatever reason, so there's something to that.
We're 4 years post COVID and you haven't had it yet.
Mm-mm. So you do a second year, and so we did a full year. And during COVID though, I think that full week, just the full week of the infusion, our daughter stayed with relatives, but because it was long days and you were driving me additionally, so it made it even longer. And then I couldn't sleep, so taking care of a kiddo, as well as our kiddo having to go through that and witness that, we just didn't feel like that was the best for her. So anyways, with that, following all of that, and when my immune system was so depleted, I can remember some tearful times with our kiddo. And but we tearful times meaning like with Lemtrada, you like for the first year you can't eat out. You have to be very cautious about what you drink, like where it came from is what I mean, like where that drink came from, who you kiss, who they've been around. But I chuckle because after going through a year that it really changes like your perspective of what you think about places. So like I like, for example, and we got fountain drinks today at a fast food establishment, but during Lemtrada, that's a huge no-no. But what I'm referring to is thinking really deep about if that 16-year-old was trained to wash their hands appropriately, or the fountain machine, did they disassemble that and actually get all the mold out from the nozzle, or am I drinking it? So those are all the things we had to consider. And then also even what we bought at the grocery store, like no deli meat. I couldn't eat deli meat.
Red meat?
Was it? I don't even know.
Like chicken?
Yeah, we just had to be very cautious, like what meat and where we got it. No sushi. Also like how, like I couldn't buy pre-cut vegetables. Like we had to have the full head of lettuce, bring it home and wash it correctly in vinegar and water. So we had to be very cautious. There was no eating out. Yeah, it was, but I did a lot of TV dinners, just because, you guys know, like having MS and then trying to prepare food for yourself, not eating out, like, that was hard. Even with help, but we survived it with like TV dinners, and I ate a lot of like the same repetitive foods. But I remember during Lemtrada, like with the steroids and everything, I preferred spicy foods. Like, and I do remember ending up with indigestion by the end of the week, but
I don't remember any indigestion, but I do remember the spicy food.
Yeah, just because steroids, you can't taste anything that is flavorful anyways. But so my positives, off Lemtrada, I felt the best I have ever felt in my like 19 years journey with MS. Lemtrada was like life-changing as far as how I felt. Like, you do not know how much brain fog you have until you don't have it. Oh my gosh, like that was the biggest win. Like if only I could have those days again. But that was the biggest win. And my like increased energy level, oh my gosh, like I felt the best after Lemtrada. And to be honest, like my MRIs have been clean ever since. Like there is not a lesion to be found that's new or.
Let's say the old exacerbations are still there, but we don't have any new ones.
Yeah.
So It's always a plus.
Yeah.
And y'all will notice me and Mallory go through everything together. So I have a habit of using the word we when it's actually her. So, yeah.
Well, it is we. I mean,
we go through all this together. So
unfortunately, I impact others that live in the same house, but we do it all together. But yeah, so after Lemtrada, you go through, for me, I remember going through like this paranoia of, I'm not on anything. I'm not protected. Like I remember, having to pull over on the side of the road one day, and my neurologist had called me directly, which I don't know about y'all, but like kind of intimidated me and threw me off for my neurologist to call me directly. And like, I could hear his voice on the phone. Like, but I remember I was driving, so I had to pull over on the side of the road because I'm like, it is the guy, he's on the phone. And I don't even remember what I called for, but what he called me out on was, he compared me to, he's like, you're that crazy girlfriend who doesn't believe she's beautiful. He's like, Mallory, you are protected. Lemtrada is doing its job. He was like, you're beautiful. You're a beautiful girlfriend. Stop harassing me. He was comparing it to the girlfriend that doesn't believe she's pretty. But he was telling me, like, you're protected. Lemtrada is doing its job. You're being paranoid, because I wasn't getting stuck every month or every other week. So it just kind of led to like, oh my God, like everything made me nervous. So once you've been on something like a medication or like dependent upon it almost, it's a strange feeling, like to not have anything to do. But with Lemtrada, and it's actually a Lemtrada requirement, not the research study, but Lemtrada does ask that you complete lab work for 4 years following, which, I have graduated that finally, but that just meant like poking me every month. I got tired of seeing the lab people.
You had to switch arms, I think, because of the scar tissue.
I know my good arms, like that one's got too much scar tissue, move over here, blah, blah, blah. Like it was long and invested. So, but it's Lemtrada. Let's talk about the side effects. So yes, I had about a good year, maybe.
Good year and a half, yeah.
Of feeling great.
Right.
And then my labs were showing some TSH, sorry. Is that the right one? TSH. Okay. Yeah.
Thyroid stimulating hormone.
Yes.
TSH.
So it was just showing some wonky stuff. And so I was referred to an endocrinologist, and lo and behold, I have thyroid issues. So they treated it like any other endocrinologist was, and you start your lab, you take your labs, we'll start this med, and then we'd tweak my meds based off labs. I don't even remember how often, because I just felt bad all the time. With thyroid issues, for me, it inflates all my MS issues. So numb and tingling hands, which I did not ever experience prior to Lemtrada. My hands have been pretty kind to me, but not anymore. But numb and tingling hands with thyroid. Like my legs spasm a lot more when my thyroid meds are off. But anyways, what we ended up encountering was like this very small window in like December of 2022, where like my meds were like, or my thyroid was just right. Because I remember telling my boss, like, I'm going to have surgery over the like Christmas break, and I don't have a choice. It's got to be done. We're going to do this. But if you've ever had any thyroid operation, you know that it has to be controlled. Otherwise you end up in what they call like a thyroid storm, which, I mean, I already felt like that. So I don't know what anything worse would feel like, but anyways, so what they want from you is they want your thyroid levels to be and
as close to normal as
Yeah.
possible. They say if it's too high or too low, I think especially too high,
and
you
so
would go through the.
and we'd been through a whirlwind of ups and downs with take this to get it up. Well, then it's too high. Take this to get it down. And well, then it's too low. It could never be controlled. And so what we decided to do is, and what we knew about us is that we would always have it in the back of our head that, well, this is the thyroid. It might be the thyroid. And so what we elected to do was have it surgically removed. So in December 22, I had my thyroid taken out. And actually we were just talking today because I had an endocrinologist appointment this morning. And what me and you were talking about is like, even when I had my thyroid removed, that surgery's hard, but let me just talk about like how I felt by the time I got home. But I just had more energy. Like I just felt better not having that hormone fight against everything else going on. So, I mean, it did successfully, having it removed, make a difference. But in the end, thyroid surgery, you have extreme neck pain, muscle pain following it, just the way they position you. So that was really hard, like in the hospital. And then strangely, they didn't, in my case, at this situation, consider the fact that I might have issues like walking to a bathroom or and so there I remember like there was this whole like, how is she going to go to the bathroom debacle in recovery. So that was fun too, but I'm sure that'll be a story we share someday. but anyways, so I just this year I just was having a lot of issues. Like my thyroid is managed, and the conversation even today with the endocrinologist was, your body is sensitive. And I just kept thinking, no way. Mm-hmm. How did you know? But yeah, I just was having a lot of issues as far as how I felt. After having my thyroid removed, and even like 8 months to a year post thyroid being gone and meds being where they needed to be, I wasn't recovering like fatigue wise. Like I was feeling run down, and I kept telling my neurologist, and I kept telling them, and we did MRI after MRI, and there's no progression. Everything looks great. But it feels like progression when you wake up in the morning and your legs just don't work. But they did the day before, and you were able to bounce out of bed. So those were the kind of things like I was feeling like, and I was feeling really fatigued. And something had to give, something wasn't right. And so if you've ever had these conversations with your doctor, like what it kind of like rolled out to be is it's probably inflammation. You probably got some inflammation things going on, and the best way to do that is probably to find another DMT drug and see how you feel on that. And so that's when Kesimpta was introduced to us. And so we've been on Kesimpta now for 3 months. I just had my
So you do your loading dose.
Yeah, so Kesimpta has loading doses with it, which honestly, it felt very much like Lemtrada, where they shove all this medicine down you. But the idea is to kill all these bad cells and allow your body to start like making new and good cells, maybe. But again, don't depend on this for your clinical treatment. This is just our experience. But anyways, I don't know. I just wasn't feeling good. The MRIs weren't showing any MS progression, but I just felt terrible. And so we started Kesimpta, and with that, we did the loading doses. I felt very minimal, like symptom wise. Like the direction we have is to take Tylenol and Benadryl an hour before. And I did that for the loading doses, but the way Benadryl just like
knocks
me out. Like I'm asleep. Like once it hits, I don't know. It just had me wondering like, well, how would I feel without the Benadryl? Because it just knocked me out and put me to sleep. So anyways, once we got to second dose is when we opted to then just exclude the Benadryl and Tylenol. And really like excluding it allowed me to kind of see and how I feel, but also visually like what functions are working and how do I feel better and et cetera, et cetera. So but right now we're on our like we're really only 3 months in. Like we haven't done a full 4th dose yet. And 4th dose will ultimately, I don't know, kind of give us some better ideas, because kind of we're on dose 3. You know, the things that I'm exhibiting right now is one, I've lost how much weight have I lost since starting? 5 pounds?
3 to 5 pounds, I believe.
And that's really, I mean, not necessarily because of the drug is causing me to lose weight. It's really causing my appetite to differentiate. So, I don't know if it, like, especially the week of, like, I have no appetite. We're 2 weeks post now, and like I ate a 3 bites of a TV dinner a while ago and put it all in a Tupperware and put it back in the fridge. And I'm like, that's all I can do. Same thing, a granola bar. I took 1 bite and I'm like, well, that's it. I'm going to put that up. But the week of my injection, it is like nothing. I don't want to put anything in my mouth. Like I almost feel nauseous. I don't know. I'm hoping this all subsides. This is again just week 3. And then of course, you know, I posted a short video about, you know, feeling crummy and why we didn't do video last time, and like what does it feel like to feel bad with MS? And you know, that's side effects are a lot of it. A lot of the way I feel today are because of side effects. And so that's kind of what we're waiting to see with Kesimpta right now, is how I'm going to end up feeling. But, you know, Kesimpta is a once a month injection, and you're forced to use the injectable tool.
The EpiPen style auto injector.
And I don't like it. And I asked I have asked everybody that prescribes it, who maybe even the delivery driver. I don't even.
You even asked me if we could take it apart.
I want the like syringe outside of the injectable, and I keep getting hard stops and no, and no. So
you don't do it by yourself. So
I don't do it at all.
You don't do it at all. So our process, it's fun. It cracks me up every time. I go to the safe. I get my gun range headphones, and she covers her eyes.
Yeah.
I lift her shirt to show her stomach. We clean it, and then I don't even tell her when I'm doing it, because she's got headphones on. She's got her eyes covered. She doesn't know what's going on. There's probably not much sensation on her stomach area anyway. So I shoot it like an EpiPen type and wait for the second click to tell you it's done.
No, you shoot it like it's prescribed to be shot. Maybe. I don't know. I don't even look or hear.
Yeah. I was like, what do you know?
I don't know.
I inject it. We finish. I put the cap back on, and I pull the headphones off, and
I look around, dazed and confused. Like, did you do it?
Yeah, like you're still alive. I guess amazed you're still alive after you got an injection.
I am a very bit dramatic, over that injectable, but it's just all the noises and the anticipation. Like there's like 3 clicks and hold it here, and I don't trust my hands as it is. Like I don't do small little detailed things. There's a reason. it just, yeah. So anyways, that is a little bit overwhelming to me, but we do it. But the week, pretty much I experience a crap gap with it. This is why I'm like, we're still kind of like seeing how it's going to go, is because I still experience a crap gap, and it's just kind of expected. So week before I feel pretty crummy, week before injection, and then we do the injection and I feel pretty crummy because for me, like it's almost like a steroid with Kesimpta. Like I don't know. I sleep really hot and I'm cold all the time. I was trying to describe this to my endocrinologist this morning. I'm cold, but I'm hot at the same time. Does that make sense? Like, do you know? Because I'm like, have it like hot blanket on me and I'm freezing and shivering, but it's too hot. Like, it's just so dumb. But anyways, so it's difficult to get sleep and so forth on Kesimpta. Like that first week. And so I'm kind of at a place where I'm like, I feel good for 2 weeks. Maybe I'm like, we're a week and a half now. Like, I don't know. So we'll see. I'm still hopeful because I keep telling myself we're only 3 months in. That's all we've done. So we will hopefully have some positives soon. And I kind of work through those feelings. And honestly, it could also be like I'm still depleting these bad cells or whatever. But I mean, that's what MS is, right? Is our body fighting ourselves.
Thanks for watching. If you're enjoying the content we're creating, please remember to subscribe to us on YouTube, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, and find us wherever you can get your podcasts.